All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the Stone Ridge Connect event here in 2025. Excited to be with you today and really cover in on a very important topic that I think you'll share as top of mind as well, right? And that's really around digital transformation efforts and where they stall. And it's not because of the ERP itself, oftentimes, as we all know, but because of the last mile problems, the manual workarounds, the bolt-on integrations, and really endless spreadsheet loops that we rely on just to get things out the door. So looking forward to cover off on how we can increase efficiencies and improve your processes to really get away from those efforts and streamline your business. So thank you for joining us again, everyone. My name is Josh Torres. I am the Senior Partner Executive here at SignUp Software, focused on our finance and operations team. So I am based here out of the Phoenix area, which means, of course, I spend most of my year either trying not to melt or explaining to people that, yeah, it is a dry heat, isn't it? I've been in the Microsoft ISV ecosystem for over 15 years now, with the last 5 years really laser focused on helping companies get real financial and operational value from their D365 investments. And before we jump in here, I'll hand things over to my partner in process automation in a much cooler climate over there, Scott Harvey. Scott,
much cooler climate. I'm Scott Harvey. I'm the Senior Partner Sales Executive on our Business Central team. And contrary to Josh, I live in the state of Maine, and I spend a lot of time convincing myself that it's a dry cold. And but we're getting into summer here, slowly but surely, and it's a great place to be. I've been in the financial process automation space for close to 20 years now, and couldn't be more excited to talk to you about how we view the integration challenge as truly being a big challenge. And so with that being said, I'll hand it back over to Josh and he'll take us down the path.
Thank you very much, Scott. All right, so here's where we're planning to go today. So we'll talk about, as Scott mentioned, the gaps that most teams still face after going live with D365, right? And why traditional integration-heavy approaches tend to fall short. What embedded process automation solutions really look like when done right. And yes, of course, we're going to bring you some data, some real-world results, and maybe even a familiar face or two. And that's going to include a guy we like to call Dynamics Dan. Love him. You'll get to meet him soon here. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so let's start out with some good news, right? So the good news is you've made the right ERP investment, right? So if you're here, you've probably chosen or are really close to choosing Microsoft D365. And congrats, you are officially, I would say, ahead of the curve, right? And we know that because according to Forrester's 2024 Total Economic Impact Study, a composite $1 billion company running D365 actually saw 106% ROI and 8.1 million in net value over 3 years, with the payback in just around 17 months, right? So that's pretty awesome. I mean, I would even call that world class. But you might find yourself asking, just like our good friend Dynamics Dan here, who's looks like he's feeling pretty good about himself right now, by the way.
Yeah.
You might ask, if that's true, why are so many organizations and teams still struggling with manual workflows, right? With fragmented data and a game of email hot potato every time an invoice comes in or a project needs updated, right? And honestly, it's because even the best ERP in the world still leaves gaps. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but integration really isn't always that magic fix that a lot of folks tend to think that it is. So even in the Forrester study, which again shows amazing ROI and business value from D365, there were still some very clear areas where manual effort really tended to persist, right? And so that included things like, for example, invoice workflows that were still largely manual, causing unnecessary delays, added effort and room for error, of course. Project visibility was fragmented, right? So teams lacked a single version of the truth. They have to rely on disconnected updates or offline tracking in Excel, for example, and audit prep, right? That continues to be something that requires too much manual effort, pulling in data across departments and really leading to just a lot of redundant, unnecessary work, right? So even in this relative success here, in Dan's reality, it still includes fragmented visibility, endless audit prep, and manual AP routing that somehow still involves walking paper around the office like it's still 2005 or something. So this, of course, is not because D365 is lacking. I would say really on the contrary, it's doing what it was built to do. But it just wasn't and really couldn't possibly be designed to go deep into every single process nuance like invoice approvals, project oversight, or of course, cross-departmental compliance tracking, for example. So again, that's where embedded for-purpose applications like Xflow and Extension come in. So we're not trying to replace or even replicate D365 here. We're helping it do what it already does, but better, faster, and with fewer gaps. That's the ultimate goal. So again, ultimately, ERP is the foundation, but it is not the automation, right? So you want automation? That comes from a dynamic and adaptable process and workflow. But middleware, that is not workflow, right? That's honestly technical debt in disguise. So our friend Dan here learned that the hard way after a 4-month detour trying to integrate this bolt-on workflow tool that still didn't talk to projects, AP, or purchasing. And he's not alone, right? So Forrester reports that over 60% of enterprises now favor ERP native solutions for exactly this reason, right? So embedded means real-time visibility, simplified compliance, and way less Dan level stress here. So to kind of help make this real, when we say a solution like Xflow AP is embedded, this is what we really mean here. So what you're looking at here is the Xflow workspace. This is inside D365 Finance and Operations, as an example. Same system, same look and feel. It uses standard D365 workspaces, customizable tiles, and is essentially the exact same navigation that your users already know, right? So that means no jumping between systems, no context switching back and forth, no significant retraining of your teams. Everything stays inside D365 where it belongs. Whether invoices are ready to import, in process, in workflow, ready to post even, it's all visible, it's all filterable, actionable, drill downable, all in one place. And even more importantly, maybe, so is the data, right? So you don't lose anything to external systems or middleware or black boxes out there. This is really the difference between adding a tool and extending your ERP.
And I just want to chime in here to emphasize what Josh said. You know, when you look at that user experience, when you look at a built-in system, not having to retrain your people, not having to support multiple systems is absolutely critical to adoption and usability. So, yep, absolutely on both, on all D365 platforms.
Yeah, great point, Scott. All right, so now, all that said, it is possible, right, that you don't need the help of embedded solutions. Not likely, but possible. Maybe you're like Dan used to think that he was, right? This mythical creature where everything runs perfectly. You know the
Dan's
type,
looking
right?
good. Dan's looking good right there.
Right? He's doing all right, I guess. He thinks he is anyway.
He thinks he is.
You know the type we're talking about, though, right? So you've got, let's say, one legal entity or one invoice format. Maybe there's no exceptions that you run into. You're not working in projects, no shipping complexities, no routing, no compliance requirements to worry about, right? So basically, you run a magical business where everything looks and feels and works exactly how Microsoft imagined it. Now, if that's you, go ahead, close your laptop now, pour yourself a mimosa, whatever your favorite beverage of choice is, and enjoy your day, because you, my friend, are a unicorn. And D365 probably does everything that you need right out of the box. But for the rest of us, those of us living in the real world, we tend to turn to strategic ISVs like SignUp Software, which exists really to extend D365. Again, not replace it, not replicate it. It just unlocks its full potential. So you'll be happy to know that Dan here eventually looked into the mirror. He realized he's not galloping through rainbows. He joined the rest of us in the real world, just for reference. So anyway, glad that he's rejoined us. But now I'll let Scott take you through a bit more about who we are and how we help achieve these kinds of results in D365 in the real world. Scott?
Thanks, Josh. SignUp Software, we're not as old as that mythical unicorn out there, but we've been doing this for a long time, and we bring a lot of expertise to the D365 ecosystem. Our first solution for Dynamics was launched in 2003. We have over 2,000 global customers, 200 employees. We are expanding rapidly with a global footprint. And we are super excited and super proud to be a partner of Stoneridge. Stoneridge extends our capabilities significantly, both in F&O and BC. 3 product portfolios in our solution set: Xflow, extension, and dynamic web. We'll talk a little bit more about those as we go forward. But really, when we talk about Xflow is really focused on helping the office of the CFO with things like AP automation, whereas extension is focused on helping the office of the COO with things like production planning, document management, and shipment orchestration. So as we break down our portfolio a little bit, we focus on finance and supply chain management. You can see AP automation, our content gate solution, all the extension products contained within that portfolio. And then the team that I work with on the Business Central side, AP automation, sales order automation, travel and expense management, and content gate. And as a point of reference here, all we do is help the Dynamics ecosystem with filling those gaps. And again, that really speaks to our built-in capability within Dynamics to maximize and optimize the investment that you've made in D365. So let's talk about really the low-hanging fruit here, which is AP processing. Manual invoice processing is hard. Manual invoice processing is viewed in through different prisms in the Business Central arena, which I focus on. Believe it or not, I still see people, like Josh said, dealing with invoices like it was 2001, where they get stacks of invoices. People are manually coding those invoices. They're routing them around the organization. I think in F&O, manual invoice processing, it could be sending emails around, getting approvals on that, but don't do it. It is, paper-based operations or image-based operations. They can make a bad process go faster, but ultimately you're going to deal with fraud, you're going to deal with exceptions, you're going to deal with human errors, low visibility, and there is a better way to do this. When you look at AP automation embedded inside D365, there is a perception sometimes that embedded solutions don't have the functionality of solutions that may be external. That is not true. You're getting best-in-class AP automation with all the functionality that you should expect, with full automation, visibility, control, and ultimately that goal of lowering invoice processing costs, capturing those discounts, eliminating late payment penalties. One thing that I see in the Business Central arena a lot is when you implement this AP automation, it's really hard to find people to be clerks. It enables you to leverage the team that you have internally already and make their work better and more fulfilling. But again, built within D365, single source of truth. You're working with real-time data. You're leveraging your investment in D365 without diluting and potentially taking on technical debt. And it's all about that familiar interface. People aren't having to be retrained. They are comfortable with that solution already. They're going to be working within that, and it's going to take advantage of all the security and compliance that's built into D365. So why create the wheel? You don't have to. Leverage what you already have from a foundational perspective, as Josh said, with what's already in D365. Be able to leverage Power BI and the extensive audit logs that are contained within D365 and within Xflow. Minimize that change management. Accelerate that adoption. People don't want to learn a new system. They want to work within the system that they already know. And I think this is really a critical item here, which is you're reducing your risk because when you implement embedded AP automation or embedded financial process automation, it's about configuration, not integration. You're eliminating those potential points of failure. That also accelerates your implementation time, which is rapid, and accelerating your time to value. So at a high level, we are experts in this field, no doubt. We are a little bit biased, no doubt. But I think when you look at Ardent Partners and some of the other consultancies around here who have been analyzing this market for years, being able to increase your automation speed, being able to reduce the time responding to supplier inquiries, being able to increase your efficiency. And you can see these numbers are pretty compelling, and ultimately being able to lower your cost to become a best-in-class AP organization. When you implement embedded AP automation, these are the results that you're going to see. But coming from a consultancy, that's one thing. I'm going to hand it back over to Josh to give us some real-world numbers.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Scott. So as Scott mentioned there, really wanted to take a look here at the numbers in a real world scenario, right, to give you that level of context. And so this is actually a great example of what happens when you compare 3 levels of financial process automation within D365 in a controlled real world environment. So this is our customer Teleperformance. So they're a customer of SignUp. And during their evaluation of our solutions, they actually tested 3 scenarios side by side. So those included standard D365 out of the box, right? So they timed their process from receiving an invoice, running it through their workflow, all the way through posting for payment. They also tested D365 plus just the addition of the optical character recognition, or OCR, data extraction, just to kind of get the to reduce the manual data entry, but still rely on standard D365 workflows. And then the final sort of scenario they tested was the actual full automation with Xflow fully embedded end to end. And so the difference, spoiler alert, was not subtle. So Xflow in that environment, they saw nearly 0 manual intervention. They processed invoices in a fraction of the time. So you can see over 4 times faster than the out-of-the-box standard D365 setup, nearly 3 times faster than just plus the OCR alone. And really the results, right, was less rework, cleaner data, and significantly lower operational effort. And perhaps most importantly, Xflow allowed them to, as Scott mentioned earlier, scale without adding headcount. Right. So that's the power of embedded automation. It's not just about better workflows, although that's a great perk, but really better business outcomes and driving more with what you already have and leveraging those investments and maximizing your ROI. So Scott mentioned our extension solutions. And so just to quickly, if we look just beyond finance as well and more over into operations, there's a whole nother layer of operational inefficiency that often goes unaddressed, right? And this is where extension comes in. So just like Xflow, these are also fully embedded solutions built natively into D365. Primarily on the F&O side, but certainly some overlap and benefits into BC as well. And they focus on a few primary operational pillars, including things like, let's say, production planning, for example. So production planning helps teams visually balance demand against capacity in real time. So that's going to mean things like fewer surprises on the floor, shorter planning cycles, reduced stockouts and overproduction, for example. And actually, in some organizations, we've seen planning times cut by over 40% just by replacing spreadsheets with embedded visuals inside D365. Another one, for example, is shipping control, which gives you real-time coordination on outbound logistics. So you can reduce freight costs, you can avoid delivery delays, and you can actually improve your accuracy, right? So for companies with really complex shipping needs, just reducing reprocessing or failed delivery rates by 5 to 10% can actually typically mean six-figure plus savings annually. So the savings and the return on this are just massive. And also for project management and controlling. So that's going to ensure that cost and progress visibility across departments are viewed in real time. It automates updates, tracks KPIs, and helps reduce budget variance. So one client, for example, that I know well, reduced project reporting lag from 30 days down to just 2 days via project management and project controlling. So that's just an example of the kind of transparency that helps you make decisions, of course, while they still matter, right, in real time. And the best part, again, no middleware, no bolt-ons, no jumping between systems back and forth, right? Just clean, embedded, traceable workflows right inside your ERP, exactly where they belong.
So what does that do to Dynamic Dan?
Dynamic Dan's happy, right? He's a happy camper. He's de-aged by at least 30 years now. He's joined us back in reality here. You can see he's a happy camper. So, I mean, really, team, ultimately, Dan's story, I would say, is our story, right? Whether it's finance, projects, shipping, or compliance, we help teams like yours make Dynamics work the way it should, right? So here is I would say, our one ask of you, right? So if you're still struggling with invoice bottlenecks, with audit chaos or operational silos, let's talk, right? If your project team is overrun by spreadsheets and your AP team still prints invoices on a printer, let's talk. If your goal is to squeeze every possible ounce of value from your D365 investment, please, let's talk, right? So we'll walk you through our consultative discovery process, not a sales pitch, share ROI tools, and really help you measure and identify, track your KPIs, and figure out where you have room for improvement, right? And show you what a true embedded automation solution can look like for your business. So, ultimately, we are really proud to be partnered with Stoneridge and recognized by Microsoft together as a go-to embedded ISV within that prestigious inner circle. So, again, with SignUp, you're not just getting another tool, you're getting experience, alignment, and a joint commitment to make D365 in your environment deliver real, measurable value.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Again, I think as you go forward, if any of those things that Josh mentioned are challenges that you have, reach out to us, reach out to your Stoneridge people, and we can set up a call and talk a little bit more about how we can help you. So yeah, with that being said, I think we'll wrap it up, and feel free to reach out to us. Thank you, Stoneridge. Thank you, Bree. Josh, as usual, awesome. And
pleasure as always.
All right, we'll see y'all.
Thank you, everyone.